good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. 2024 Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference Football Media Day. It is the official start of the sports season for the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference and the 22 sports that we sponsor with our 15 programs across 5 states. Almost 6,000 student athletes competing in the league on an annual basis. So it does warm our heart to see our coaches and our student athletes as we begin another competitive football season. I'm Chris Graham. I'm the commissioner of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. Alongside me is Randy Campbell. He is our coordinator of football officials and a former football official himself. He'll have some remarks in a moment, but we're going to take these first few minutes before our teams begin their activities for the day to update you on a few things within the RMAC and also specifically football. I want to start by congratulating Colorado School of Mines, our national runner-up in Division II football. Amazing year they had, a second straight year that they made a run to the national championship. I could not be more proud of what they've done and what our teams have done in the 10 years I've been here. Starting with CSU Pueblo's national championship in my first year, starting in 14, the RMAC has turned into a premier Division II football conference. And the reason we've done so is because of the coaches that are here today and the student athletes that participate in our league. We absolutely are one of the top leagues in the nation when it comes to football. I'm very proud of the success that we've had, and I know it's going to continue to stand year after year. I want to congratulate our officiating crews. I know Mr. Campbell's going to get into it in a moment, but for the first time last year, we had 2 crews selected to officiate in the Division II postseason. That's a substantial mark for an officiating program, and I want to thank Randy and congratulate him on the outstanding job he has done. RMAC officiating is also at the top of the nation. We take great pride in training our officials, in recruiting them, in educating them, and holding them accountable, and making sure that they are doing their job as our coaches and student athletes are doing their job. And our goal for our officials is to, if they desire, is to move them along in their career path, and we've had great success in doing that, as I suspect Randy is going to share with you in a moment. So congratulations to our officiating crews. We have a new region coming up, moving in with the MIAA and the Great American Conference. We look forward to those matchups in the future in the postseason. Regularly there's concern about regional play and championship matchups. We play who we're matched up with, and we compete on a regular basis as one of the top leagues in the nation. Shifting regions and shifting matchups, as far as I'm concerned, are fine. Our concern moving forward, and has always been, just making sure those first round matchups don't include conference teams. And I think I can speak for my fellow commissioners across Division II when I say making sure that early round matchups don't include conference opponents is a very important part of the work that the Division II National Committee does. I stand with my fellow commissioner colleagues in Division II by calling for Division II football bracket expansion. We must expand football in order to keep it viable, healthy, and strong in Division II. We understand that it has to be a part of the regular budget process, which will be coming up in a few years, but we need to make sure that our collegiate colleagues and leaders in the Division II committees ensure that this is a major priority during the next budget cycle in order to provide additional access, deserving access, to our Division II football programs. We recently renewed an agreement with Huddle and Blue Frame, an industry leader in not only game tape exchange, but also video production and webcasting. I'm delighted to announce that it's a 3-year agreement, and maybe even more importantly, at this time, RMAC broadcasts on the RMAC network will remain free for the foreseeable future. The President's Council has recognized across the country that many leagues are going to pay-per-view, and while we understand and respect those decisions that are made, The decision by the President's Council and our athletic administrators and the majority at this time is we want to continue to provide those broadcasts for free. Separate from a football perspective in the RMAC, any championships or tournaments for this year will remain behind a paywall. As RMAC football fans and supporters know, we do not have a championship or postseason league game in football. But in all other sports with postseason tournaments, championships, we are going to maintain a pay-per-view model and require our fans to support the efforts of our sports information directors and our student workers and our video production groups on our campuses by providing, and the conference office by providing the revenue to support those ventures in the postseason. We're going to continue with video replay this year. Last year was the first year that we did it. We were one of the first conferences after a pilot program by another Division II conference. We were one of the first conferences to pick it up after that. It was successful at the start. There were some kinks that had to be worked out, but I know Randy will comment on the importance behind our officials who get the calls right the majority of the time, but having the opportunity to go back and watch two angles, at least two angles on replay to ensure that we're absolutely getting the call right. The other important part of this is, and it's been over a decade now or more, that the NCAA has placed great focus on targeting, that we have an opportunity to continue to ensure even a safer and more healthy environment for our student athletes by going back and reviewing any dangerous plays that might require action on the field. So I want to thank our institutions, our game administrators, our administrators on campus, our sports information directors who are putting the replay up every year. In addition to that replay, and we are using Sky Coach, the service that all Division II institutions are using, because replay is well over half, if not nearly 2/3 now, of Division II institutions that are doing it. We are also adding, for the first time in Division II and in the RMAC, sideline tablets and press box tablets. Each school, by conference rule, is permitted to have 5 video tablets to log in to the replay system, the video review system that's already existing for its second year, to help with coaching and with any updates that are needed on the sidelines and in the booth. So presumably coaches are going to have 1 to 2 in the press box and 3 to 4 down on the sidelines. These are going to be an important part of the progress that we're making in Division II football to make it more efficient, to help support our student athletes, and to make it more safe and healthy for them. So we're excited to introduce sideline tablets for this year. Division II National Convention in Phoenix back in January approved Week 0. This has been a topic for a few years. I know head coach Jay Long at Chadron State is on a group called Coaches Connection, which is one representative from each Division II conference across the nation that meets roughly on a monthly basis. And that group of coaches, including, I suspect, discussions at the AFCA convention, have been interested in a Week 0 option so that our institutions can play games against Division I institutions, against NAIA institutions, and against each other. We have one conference game that'll be played in Week 0 this year, South Dakota Mines hosting CSU Pueblo, that can provide relief by way of a bye later in the season in order to support student athlete health and safety. So as of this year, 2024, it is official. Division II does have Week 0 available, and we do have a handful of teams opening up in Week 0, whether it be that one conference game or a few non-conference games. 2025 will remain the same. Week 0 is an option, and our schools do have, by mutual consent of the institutions and their directors of athletics, to move a conference game into Week 0. But beginning in 2026, the RMAC athletic directors, President's Council have approved a standard bye in Week 6, beginning in 2026, in Week 6, where all teams will have a bye. This is placed strategically into the middle of the season in order to give our student athletes a break. If you're Colorado School of Mines the last 2 years, making runs to the national championships, you're playing up to 15, 16 weeks straight. That's a tough run for our student athletes in a very challenging and difficult sport physically. So we have strategically placed this bye week, and it will also require our student athletes to have at least 3 days in that week off from their countable athletically related activity. This was proposed by our Student Athlete Health and Safety Committee. It was supported by all of our athletic trainers, our administrators, and our President's Council. So we're excited to announce that opportunity in 2026. Real quick staff updates. The RMAC created a new staff position. We have a director for championships and marketing. Audrey Bloomquist is a graduate of University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, an RMAC institution, where she was a multiple-time performer of the meet in RMAC track and field, and just concluded her career as an All-American in the triple jump. We had a change in sports information directors. Zach Chavez has moved on. We're very excited for the new opportunity he has, and we've just hired Cody Bush, formerly of Austin P, and Cody will be joining us in mid-August, and we're very excited because Cody has over 25 years of experience in sports information. I'm also delighted to announce the promotions of Ashley DeCita from Assistant to Associate Commissioner and Lexi Vernon from Associate to Senior Associate Commissioner for this year. Finally, I want to thank our coaches and our student athletes for their participation at the Children's Hospital yesterday. Like a lot of you watching other programs across Division II, we watch other conferences. If we see a good idea, we want to pick it up. Probably no different than our coaches watching a play from another team or from a Division I or maybe even a high school program where there might be some creative playmaking. We watch other conferences, and if we think there's a good idea, we want to pick it up. But to date, I haven't seen a Division II conference that does what we do at Media Day by providing a full experience and a broad experience for our student athletes, beginning with donating their time and efforts at a children's hospital. My heart grows very big and large when I think about the impact that our wonderful and amazing student athletes have on these children, whether it's going and singing happy birthday to them, playing video games, taking a stroll through the hospital, trying, I suspect we probably have a few good art people in there, trying to do some drawings and colorings with them. And then a new thing that was thrown out this year, just making some sidewalk chalk art outside the hospital, so when families, parents, and children are walking around, maybe we can bring a little extra joy to them. So I'm exceptionally proud of the contributions and the time that our student athletes have made to the Colorado Children's Hospital. I know they enjoyed themselves with food and games during a social hour last night. And then, of course, today, as they were told last night after they finished their press conference, they will engage in a little carpool karaoke, and then they will also take part in a hot wings challenge, which I think will probably be the highlight of the day. I want to thank Wingstop, our sponsor for today, and I want to wish you all the best of luck and congratulate you all on outstanding careers to this point. We're going to take some questions, but first I'd like to turn it over to Randy Campbell, our Director of Football Officials.
Thank you, Commissioner Graham. Last year we had a great year in officiating, but that's due to the support from Commissioner Graham, the RMAC office, RMAC administrators, plus the coaches and student athletes. I just want to say publicly thank you for your support. Also, I'd like to thank Coach John Riston, retired coach from CSU Pueblo. We have one Division II rep on the Rules Committee, And we're very, very fortunate that John represents the RMAC on the Rules Committee. The legacy that Commissioner Graham mentioned, we have a great legacy. 13 officials currently in FCS came from the RMAC. 14 at the FBS level came from the RMAC. We've done 5 national championships. Fortunately, I'm one of them. Worked the 2013 national championship game, which was not much of a game, unfortunately. It was Notre Dame, Alabama. But we have 5 officials that came from the RMAC that has worked a national championship. Currently, we have 5 NFL officials from the state of Colorado. All 5 got their start in the RMAC. So we're really proud of our legacy. And like everybody else in the room, we start 0-0. Every game starts 0-0. In fact, our clinic's going to start here in a few hours at Colorado Christian University. I will cover the rules real briefly. This was not a big rule change year. Some of the rules do apply to Division II. Some are at the FBS level. And the first rule that's going to come up is coach-to-player communication. And what we found in the NFL with coach-to-player communication, you'll see a dot on the back of a helmet. It's a green dot. For teams that wear green helmets, there'll be a white dot. But what's fortunate about the coach-to-player communication, it cuts down on the number of penalties, and it cuts down on unnecessary timeouts. We will not have coach-to-player communication this year in the RMAC. My forecast is that we'll probably have it next year. And I think the coaches and student athletes, and even the fans, I think they'll appreciate coach-to-player communication. Like I said before, it'll cut down on the number of penalties. It'll also cut down on unnecessary timeouts. I think it'll make the game better. As to one rule change that happened last year was we did not stop the clock for first downs if the play ended in bounds, unless it was under 2 minutes to go in each half. RMAC games last year, we cut down 7 minutes in game length. And that may not sound like a lot, but that's pretty good, actually. Our games averaged 2 hours and 58 minutes last year. The year before, they averaged 3 hours and 5 minutes. So I think that was a good rule change last year, and we'll see that again this year. The one thing I think fans will notice is the sideline tablets that Commissioner Graham mentioned. That's also going to benefit our coaches and student athletes. Our video quality, I'm proud to say we have really truly improved that in the RMAC the last few years. It's not because of me, it's because of the coaches and administrators that put the effort in to improve our video quality. We did use replay last year, Sky Coach. It's like anything else with technology. There were a few growing pains. That was true at the FBS level when this occurred, and it's true for us too. We got through it. Very excited about year 2 of having the Sky Coach replay program. We did allow the coaches to challenge plays last year. I think that went very well. They do have a challenge flag. They can either challenge by throwing a flag. Hopefully they don't throw it at the official. They won't do that. But the other thing is they can challenge verbally too. And our coaches were 24% successful in their coaches' challenges last year. And I think that went very, very well. But as to the sideline tablets, our league has... the NCAA rule actually says you can have up to 18. We're going to have up to 5. And I think that's going to be a big benefit for not only student athletes but coaches. And we're anticipating nationally that the success rate for coaches' challenges will now go up, because now they're going to have a chance to see the play on the tablet, as before they can only see it once in live action. So I'm anticipating that if there's any coaches' challenges this year, the success rate will go up. The other thing that I think a lot of fans around the country, and definitely in our region, most people follow NFL football. They've had the 2-minute warning for many, many years. This year in college football, we're going to have the 2-minute timeout. And so the game will stop 2 minutes to go in the second quarter and in the fourth quarter. If there's live action and the play stops at 1:56, we will have a stoppage in play. And that's because there's about 12 different rules that change under 2 minutes. And so the NFL has done the 2-minute warning for many, many years. I think college football, I think we're going to see the coaches and definitely the officials, they like the 2-minute timeout. Like I said, it gives them a chance to go over the rule changes that happen under the 2-minute timeout scenario. The other thing is the horse collar tackle, which in years past, it was only a foul if it happened outside the tackle box. And for people that are not familiar with the tackle box, it's tackle to tackle. Mainly it's in the middle of the field. This year, the horse collar tackle, it will be a foul anywhere on the field. It's a safety foul. I support it wholeheartedly because it didn't make sense to any of us why inside the tackle box it was not a foul, but now it is a foul. So it doesn't happen very often, but we did have a couple of plays last year in the RMAC where the horse collar tackle happened within the tackle box, but it wasn't a foul. And when you have a player that gets tackled by the horse collar like here, his knees are going to buckle, and it is a safety foul. So luckily this year, the NCAA Rules Committee, and that's due to the work I mentioned before about John Riston being on the Rules Committee, we were a proponent of it, and we got that rule passed this year. The only other rule that's of significance a little bit is that the halftime is not happen until the referee makes an announcement. There was a few situations in the Pac-12 and the ACC last year where they started the third quarter with one play from the second quarter. And so this year, until the referee makes an announcement and there's no challenges from the coaches, the halftime will now commence. It's not a big rule change, but we're trying to avoid what happened to those two leagues last year where we never want to start the third quarter with the play from the second quarter. So until the referee makes that announcement, halftime does not start. So those are the big rule changes this year.
Randy, thank you. Are there any questions for either Randy or me?
You had mentioned about the regional alignment. Does that go into effect this year with still with Lone Star this year, and then next year you'll start with the other two conferences?
Yes, sir.
And now will they have to change their schedule because you put importance on non-conference games?
And we have a representative of the NCAA National Committee with us that did that work, and Jazz can maybe even comment on that when he comes up from Western Colorado University. But regional games are still games that can include schools that are in contiguous states to our league. So schools in Kansas schools in Minnesota, South Dakota is a contiguous state. Those can still count, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe we've changed that, as in region games. So I think our coaches are probably going to be more mindful of their regional alignment, but at the same time, depending on which institution it is and the coach's philosophy, I suspect budget will still be one of the primary factors in making those decisions, in addition to looking at possibly meeting up with a Great American and or an MIAA. So I think the chances are you will see more games, though the Great American, which is going to be unique in this situation, and I appreciate the question, they got a closed schedule. So no opportunities at this time. We faced that previously with the Northern Sun Conference that had a closed schedule. So we've got conferences in region, but we don't have any opportunities to play them. And I think if you look at the results of the selections and the qualifications to postseason, it would appear that conferences that have closed schedules tend to have an advantage, maybe even ever so slight advantage, numbers-wise, when the National Committee breaks down the numbers at qualifying more teams because of that closed schedule. And it makes it difficult for a conference like ours that is willing and able to make those commitments in our two non-conference opportunities to play those Division II games. So I think you will see MIAA was closed, now open, but may go back to closed if they have any membership changes. So our in-region games may continue to be our Lone Star competition and Northern Sun.
And also you're talking about expanding the playoffs. Right now it's 28 ranked schools.
Yes, sir.
And so you're trying to get to 30.
We're looking at 32. 36 would be great, but we're being reasonable by knowing that to add more football teams and travel 50, 60 people, maybe 70 when you add in the travel party on the Division II budget. It's the Division II budget is tied to the NCAA men's basketball tournament, where over 90% of the NCAA revenue comes from, and we get 4.37% of that. And football has, I believe, the largest championship budget out of all the sports that we sponsor in Division II, and for that reason, increasing incrementally, even though we foresee and forecast more revenue coming into the association, and therefore the Division II budget, at least getting 4 more, 1 more per region, will make a big difference. And I think it's going to make a big difference for the RMAC.
My last question, what about conference realignment in the future? You know, you got Central Washington sitting out there, Western Oregon, I guess.
Yes, sir. Great question. We've talked about this previously, and I would share with you our general philosophy on membership, which is, and it started when I began 10 years ago, and we added Westminster, it's a non-football playing school, and South Dakota School of Mines, a current Division II school, but was playing independently at the time, that we are always willing to consider opportunities that will enhance and improve the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, but not at the cost of harming a current member. And in this regard, particularly in football, when we use the word harm, and I use that term loosely, we're talking about budgets and travel budgets. I have implored our institutions and our leaders, our presidents, our administrators, to be aware, and I've kept them updated on a regular basis as to the changes and the word on the street about football in the West, which we've lost a number of programs over the last decade. We're thankful that we still have a couple up in the upper Northwest. They've joined the Lone Star. We are good at 10. We're in a really comfortable spot. If we went to 12, yeah, that might not be so bad either, closing it out and knowing budget-wise what our schedule will look like every year. But I think, I don't want to speak for all of our coaches, but I think they like some of their non-conference games. I also think they like if they have an opportunity for a guarantee game from a Division I, an FCS institution. It gives them the opportunity to make a little money and to see some better competition at the beginning of the year. So at this time, to answer your question directly, there's no changes to football sponsorship, and I don't anticipate in the very near future any changes to conference membership, though while football is important and we do look at what opportunities are there, we're very strong. I don't see our programs or our schools going anywhere, but we are at 15, and our core sports in our league are football, men's soccer, volleyball, and men's and women's basketball. And with 15 institutions for volleyball and men's and women's basketball, it's a nightmare to schedule. And it's very difficult on our student athletes and our coaches, so any decisions about changes in membership or additions in membership will really probably begin with a focus on those sports.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, one for Randy. Just a clarification on that 2-minute warning with several of the rules between Division I and Division II. Some don't trickle down. You did say the 2-minute timeout, the 2-minute warning will happen in the RMAC this year?
Yeah, the 2-minute timeout will be for all of college football. That's FBS, FCS, D2, D3. So that's one of the rules that will apply to all divisions. Unlike the player-to-coach communication, that only applies to FBS and FBS only, but 2-minute timeout. I even joked with the coaches yesterday, I still call it 2-minute warning because if you follow the NFL, they've had the 2-minute warning for, I think, 27 years now. But it is in college called the 2-minute timeout.
And one for you, Commissioner Graham, as well. Regarding the scheduling and some of these conferences that have opened theirs up a bit, like the MIAA and the NSIC, has the RMAC or would the RMAC ever want to entertain some kind of a seasonal challenge with one of those conferences that could help boost the profile, some great matchups that could happen?
Yeah, so if I see opportunity and I don't think it's going to be costly, I bring that opportunity to my coaches. At commissioners' meetings, we discuss occasionally. It's really in other sports, volleyball, softball, there are conference challenges that allow for extra games, as Division II fans know, in the preseason that are exempted and not counted against the overall total. Our discussions over the years have always focused on postseason and providing bowl opportunities, but even then those bowls are fewer and far between because the sponsorships just aren't there like they used to be back in the day. So, in the preseason, here's what we do. Outside of doing a mandated, and that would have to be acknowledged by coaches, approved by athletic administrators. There's a process in the governance structure to go through. It's not any commissioner deciding, here's the schedule we're going to play outside a non-conference. That autonomy and that control has always been left to coaches. But any opportunity we have, we share schedules between conferences, and coaches are regularly or ADs are reaching out to our conference office saying, can we get your future non-conference schedule, and providing them the information we have so that everyone can view the openings and then decide where they want to go. Again, not wanting to speak entirely for our coaches, but I'm sure budget is right up there, and number one or number two, is it going to be a competitive game, and will I get the home and home in that series, and are there any considerations for a guarantee of hotels or food as they travel? So outside of, no, I don't foresee any conference alignments in decisions that are made to challenge each other than encourage. When we know schedules are open, we talk personally at our commissioners' meetings about making sure that the information's getting back and forth so our coaches know where the openings are, and encouraging them to play regional games. Yep. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank Randy Campbell again. I want to thank our coaches and student athletes, and in a few minutes I know we're going to begin with.
All right, welcome back in. We are now joined by Western Colorado, who finished number 2 in the RMAC preseason poll. They received 3 of the 10 first-place votes and 74 total points in that vote. They finished the year 10-2 last year, were 7-1 in regular season, and finished ranked 15th in the D2 coaches poll and 16th in the D2football.com poll. We're joined by head coach Jazz Baines, junior quarterback Drew Nash, and senior defensive back Bryce Lucas. Coach, we're going to start off with an opening statement from you, and then we'll open it up to the room for questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I just want to thank the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference and Commissioner Graham for today and yesterday. I think these guys, including the coaches, had a lot of fun, getting around, the rest of the league and the coaches and the players. It's always a great opportunity to get a chance to visit, with a lot of the players from the other teams, because, come Saturdays, they got helmets on and you're just getting ready to play a football game. So really to get a chance to meet some of those guys was fantastic, over the last 2 days. Very thankful to be the head football coach at Western Colorado. I want to thank all of our supporters back in Gunnison and just all over. We got great support from our alumni, our Gunnison community. I think for us, we're just very excited to get started here on August 10th. We got a pretty big roster coming back from last year's team. I think we lose somewhere around 7, 8, I guess you can say, starters from last season. We have 16 seniors this fall, Bryce being one of them. And, we're just excited to get started here next weekend. I got 2 outstanding leaders and players for us with me today. Excited to get to work with these guys moving forward. So,
I'll start off with a quick question. Coach, second time in 3 years, you guys are coming off an NCAA tournament appearance. How has this program changed during your tenure, longest tenured coach in the conference, by the way? How has it kind of changed over time?
We just continue to build, I think. We've had great leadership. We've had great players. Our coaches do a great job. We've had a lot of support. Just try to continue to build year after year. And I think, we've found some consistency at the moment. Hopefully we can continue that, moving forward. But, I think the commitment from our players and, their off seasons and their summers, they continue to improve each year. We've had a lot of guys there this summer. It might be one of the biggest summers, as far as players being around that we've had since I've been there. And so I think that commitment, to try to achieve at a high level just continues to get better and better, each year.
For the players, similar question. Have you felt a change around the team? I mean, guys, obviously not the outcome at the end of the year you wanted, but have you felt guys start to buy in more now that you're there, right? You're right there.
Yeah, I think it's been great being here since 2020 COVID and 2021 winning that ring. Me as a DB, our unit, we used to say in 21 we were going to change the culture. And then after we won conference, went on a playoff run, it was great to be able to actually change that culture. We came the year back in 22, said, okay, now we're going to set the culture. And now we feel like we have the culture. Now that we have the culture, it's really just putting the foot to the metal, making sure that what we have with the group of guys that we have right now, that we're just running, we're taking the most of what we got.
Yeah, and kind of just picking off of Coach Baines, having more guys up here in the summer is it's a big step for our program. I mean, you get to do 7-on-7 during the week. We all run together. We get to DBs get to work out together. So kind of just having that camaraderie of working together and being at the same place has helped us throughout over the years.
I think this last season was a little bit different. You mentioned 2 out of the last 3 years. I think watching these guys like go to the weight room immediately afterward, and there's 60, 70 guys in there the following Monday, whenever they got back from break. I wouldn't necessarily say that happened, back in 2021. Just watching these guys immediately go to the weight room and just start working out and getting going. It's a large number. There's a lot of guys in there, and you could tell these guys were, hungry to get back at it. We got the season, just ended maybe a few weeks prior to that. So they continued that through the spring and, kind of carried over to the summer. So, it's been a pretty good off season, I would say.
Hey guys, one for you, Coach Baines. Do you get back the RMAC's leading rusher and Davon Butler, and then Ricky Freeman, the sacks leader from last year's team? Do they return? And if so, what do you expect out of them? What do you want to see for them? If not, how do you fill in for those guys?
Davon Butler graduated, so he was a senior last year, and so he's done. And then Ricky will be back. He'll be a junior this season, and hopefully he can continue the trend that he had last year. He was very productive for us and made a lot of plays, and continues to get better and improve, and hopefully he can continue to play at a high level this fall. Obviously, you're going to need that kind of production, those impact type of plays with the sacks and fumbles and TFLs and those things. So you're going to need that from him, especially with how dynamic our league is when it comes to scoring points and doing those things. I mean, this conference does it at a very high level. And so, we're going to need him to play very well, and, along with the rest of those guys on that side of the ball to have a chance to win games. And as far as, running back goes, Braden Hogan has, I don't want to say backup, I guess. He's played a lot of football games in the last 2 years. He's been somewhere in the 600, 700 yards rushing, each season, and hasn't necessarily been the guy. He started a couple games for us, but now it'll be a matter of how many carries can he take this fall, being kind of the full-time guy there. And those are the same questions we had for Davon a year ago, and he had a great season and produced very well, and hopefully Braden can do that as well.
Western Colorado Mines, CSU Pueblo, in that top 3 kind of consistency now. What's it like, and for all 3 of you guys to answer, it'd be great to hear, what's it like to be the hunted and not the hunters, so to speak, where you guys are one of those bullseye games for everybody that comes up on a Saturday? You could start if you want, Coach, and then just work your way down.
I mean, our league's competitive. I mean, I think every given Saturday anybody can win, and I know that's very cliche, but that's reality, and our coaches in this conference do a great job. There's very good players in our league across the board. To be in this, I don't know, I guess those top 3, is great recognition and some of those things, but I mean, none of it means much until you start winning games. Polls are polls, and those things don't mean anything. You got to go out and do it. And, but our conference does a great job, and our coaches do outstanding. And I think it's a dogfight every Saturday, come conference play.
Yeah, I think competition's great. Being in the top 3 is great. But at the end of the day, when the season's over, there's going to be one team up top. And a motto we like to say is 1-0. That's all that matters. So when it comes to, the rankings, the polls, it's all awesome. It's cool to have a number to it. But our first game's Midwestern State. We're going to focus on that. Next opponent. And like you said, it's competitive. We look forward to playing with the chip on our shoulder and knowing that we want to win games.
Yeah, top to bottom, I mean, anyone can win on any given Saturday. It's the matter of how you prepare during the week, during practice, and that's kind of what we think about, like, throughout the week. We want to work harder than everyone, want to prepare more than everyone, so then Saturday's just kind of given to us. We have to go out and just take it that day.
kind of on the schedule and anybody can beat anybody kind of theme there, and rivalries too. We've talked a bit about that throughout the afternoon with the teams, and the Colorado Classic's a huge game in the conference, and it's a huge one for you guys in Adams State. I got Adams State to talk a bit about the game. What does it mean to you guys to play in that Colorado Classic and for the community of Gunnison and the school?
I think it's just great to be able to not only bring players, but the athletes on campus, the community. It's a fun rivalry game. Like, we don't hate Adams, but we always want to beat Adams, right? And it's the same for them. And I think it's a great competitive game. There's always a lot of trash talking that goes on, whether it's at their field, at our field. But again, I feel like it does bring the schools a lot closer instead of it just being rivalry teams. I feel like a lot of the fans like to get involved, community likes to get involved, so overall it's a fun time.
Yeah, and just kind of piggyback off that, I mean, just winning that trophy is kind of a big part of it as well. I mean, being able to hold that trophy up on Saturdays makes it a little more special during that Colorado Classic. Yeah, like you said, we don't hate Adams, but like we said, we want to beat them on Saturdays, so.
Hate's a strong word. I think it goes back so far. It goes back for all the sport programs. It's not just a football thing. That's just a long storied rivalry that's existed, and it's they show up wearing green and our people show up wearing red, and sometimes it feels like that's the only game they care about. So it just goes back such a far way, and they mentioned just having students and athletes at our events and some of those things for some of those games. I was talking to Coach Harrison about it this morning. It's like it's just such a long historied rivalry, and we're talking about even basketball and wrestling matches when at either place it's like the gym's packed, and so it goes back so far. I mean, I think it's awesome, it's unique, and I think that's a game that everybody likes to show up for. Our alumni love that game. That's I'm not going to say only game they come to, but that's one that they try to get to, just knowing that it's an old rivalry. So.
Final one for all of you guys to answer. You got a new stadium this year, and it's been playing on a nice surface at the soccer stadium up there, but now it's back to is it the new Mountaineer Bowl, or what? Tell us about it, Coach, what the stadium's going to be like and what you guys have seen of the new stadium and how excited you are to play in your new facility. Yeah,
I mean, it's an incredible facility. We're very thankful to have an opportunity to play in a venue like that. We had an opportunity to play in it last fall for our playoff game. This spring, we got, I think most of our practices were down up in the bowl as well, and it's fantastic. I mean, if you've never been there before, it's jaw-dropping. If you've been there in the past, you won't recognize the place. Everything in the facility is new, from press boxes to suites to locker rooms, which maybe locker rooms, people don't think that's a big deal. It's a big deal at Mountaineer Bowl. We never had them. And that was for home and visiting teams. We were all making the, mile-long walk from the locker room area up to Mountaineer Bowl, and, you get tired just walking up there all the time. I think it's going to be great for our visiting teams, our fans. Obviously, for us, it has lights, it's turfed, and new scoreboard. Everything's brand new in that place. I think it's going to be a sight to see.
Yeah, it's exciting. Being in the program since the actual Mountaineer Bowl on the grass, moving up to KD O'Grady, that was an experience. And then throughout the whole reconstruction process of our locker room being in a huge gym with some laundry baskets, and now we have a locker room. So I'm grateful to be able to be part of the experience, part of the journey. Like you said, all the different upgrades they did, they're amazing. So it's going to be an experience to be under the lights for the first time. That's going to be great, and I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think being able to have our playoff game in there last year, even though it wasn't completely finished, it was definitely felt like a different atmosphere compared to the soccer field that we've had for the last 2 years. The crowd was going crazy. It's a lot louder in there, and I think everyone really enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to the first night game ever in the bowl.
Coach, your first 10 seasons, you had one winning season. Last 3 winning seasons. What was a big turnaround after COVID for the program?
Yeah, I think just continued buy-in, and we've had consistency with our coaches. I think that has helped tremendously. just having guys that have been on staff now for several years, has been big for the program. These guys get a chance to get coached by the same guys, and we're not worried about, a new coach always coaching them. So I think that's very important. And then just the buy-in, from the players. And again, it continues that culture that Bryce described continues to rub off on the next group. And they continue to build, stronger bridges for the next group. And that's what it's been for us. It's, we've been very competitive. Hopefully we can continue that, moving forward. But, they've just done a great job of buying in and committing. I think, everybody talks about, and I've talked about it since day one when I took this job 15 years ago. And that is, everybody talks about conference champions and winning the conference champion. I mean, we preach those things when, heck, we didn't have a chance in heck to win one. And I think those things are realistic today where, we continue to play good football and do those things. I think, we can be one of the teams that potentially are in the hunt, here moving forward.
What about Austin Eckler? Does he help you recruit?
I don't know if he helps us recruit, but, I think everybody knows that he played at Western, and that's one of the things a lot of people always ask about, so.
I noticed that I think you were the only one that wanted to put him on offense. Everybody else wanted to put him on defense. What is so special about him? Do you have anybody? Have you ever coached anybody like that before?
Not like him. He's a business guy, and he came in with a goal, and he was going to reach it. And I think he challenged himself every day, and wanted to be better. He was the kid that you could, find on the field by himself. He was in the field house by himself. Didn't matter if anybody else was in there or not. He was doing the things he needed to do to play at a higher level. And I know he continued that throughout his career. And we've had great players. I think he's been exceptional, and he's probably, till this day, and not knocking anybody we've had, he's probably one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. Just this amount of commitment he had to, trying to excel at a high level.
Coach, 14 seasons in the RMAC. When you first came in, there were long tenured coaches, Riston at Pueblo, the gentleman at Mines, whose name is escaping me at the moment, but now as the senior leadership, if you will, when it comes to head coaches in the conference. How have you seen kind of the RMAC evolve over your tenure, and you've seen a lot of programs keep up the consistency even through these coaching changes?
Yeah, Coach Long and I were laughing about that, last couple days, for a few years now. But I've been here a long time, and our league is, it's just changed so much. This is my 20th year coaching in the RMAC, and I coached at Chadron State, and it was different back then. And the league is just so different across the board with all of our programs, in the conference, and I think just the commitment, to compete at a high level is very visible, I think, across our conference now with, facilities and the things they're building, and you're seeing nice stadiums and nice venues and all those things, everywhere in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. It's a special place to play. It's very unique. Our coaches, there's a handful of coaches that have been in our league now for 4, 5, 6 years, and they're just tremendous men, and getting a chance to know those guys and communicating with them in the off season or during the season. They're a pleasure to, we compete against each other, but they're a pleasure to work with, and they're great leaders of young men. But our conference, it just continues. It's just getting better and better. You're talking, national champion coming out of this conference, years back, and, playoff teams, and your Colorado School of Mines, making a national championship game, semifinals, all those things, very consistently now. And so, I know this is biased, but it's a premier conference in Division II, period. So,
Bryce, defense coming off a season, finished second overall in total yards allowed, had the best passing defense in the conference. How's this year's defense going to stack up? And feel free to name drop some of your teammates if you want, of guys maybe fans should look out for.
Yeah, just my personal bias. I feel like this season's going to be no different. We're bringing a lot of guys back. Guy I've been playing with since day one, Jack Jones, that kid works harder than anyone else. I want to see him toe-to-toe with Austin Eckler because that kid works hard. I think we have like he said, we have a great coaching staff. We're able to scheme super well, and the guys are bought in. Like when I say our guys are bought in, they trust the process, and they know that what we're doing is for a reason, and that's the reason why we've been able to be successful for the past few seasons. And I see this season being no different. Our guys, they're all athletic enough, talented enough. We have the right tools. We just got to put it together.
And Drew, same question, but on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, looking forward to another great year. I mean, losing a couple key players, but I think we have a lot of guys that were either that played last year, they got another year under their belt, or that were injured last year that are coming back that are going to be very impactful for us. Just speaking on Braden Hogan, he's going to be able to step up in that starting role this year, along with Caden Measer coming back from an injury, who is going to be very impactful for us as well. I'm just looking forward to another great year and competing at a very high level and playing our best football at the end.
All right, one final question for you, and we'll let you go, and we'll have all three of you ask. We'll just kind of start with Coach. In your eyes, what would make this season a success for you?
Oh, gosh. I just want to see these guys play hard, and that's something that we've always hung our hat on is preparing and giving our best efforts. Obviously, you got to win football games and do those things, but, I think, watching these guys over the last several years now, and, a senior and a junior here now, but, guys back home, they've stuck together, whether it's been good or bad. They've been great teammates, great brothers. They care for each other. And as a coach, what else can you ask for? And just watching these guys, build those bonds and relationships and those things, and then, have an opportunity to continue to go out and win games and do that, obviously, is a lot of fun. But for me as a coach, I want to see these guys play hard, and that's, regardless of results sometimes, it's about playing hard.
Yeah, my personal advice, I want to see everyone healthy. That'd be, I think it's a successful season if you could finish a whole season, 11, 12, 13 games, whatever it is for us, and we still have everyone at the end. I think that'd be great. Successful season is every guy attacking the day. Like I said before, our motto is 1-0, all that matters. And if we do that every single week, I think we have a pretty long season.
Yeah, and I think just kind of going off what they said, playing our best football, best quality football at the end of the year is kind of be our goal, I think. Making it as far as we can, obviously competing for a conference championship, being in the hunt. We would like to do the same thing we did as last year and keep getting better and playing our best football at the end.
Best of luck, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time.